Hello, my name is Liana Moore Brave, and today we will be answering the question, should I go to college? It depends. We're living in an unprecedented time with the pandemic. School could be canceled as soon as you write that check for tuition. But let's pretend like we live in normal times instead of unknown times. Let's pretend like the pandemic didn't happen and then address the question from there. Should I go to college? Well, it is true that a university degree can give you opportunities that you would not have without it. But the main question is the opportunities that you gain worth the debt you will get a massive amount of, most people end up with a massive amount of debt after getting a 4-year degree, and then even more if they get a master's degree. So the question is yes, having a college degree does give you some more opportunity, but is it worth the overwhelming debt that you will get into? So should I go to college? It really, you have to think about a lot. Can you afford it? Are you going to be a scholar? If you can get a full ride, absolutely you should take it and go to college. If you're going to get no scholarships and you have to take on a $20,000 loan, like, you really need to think about it. And then there are certain majors that do guarantee and secure your future, like being a doctor. But lawyers, being a lawyer is not necessarily a secure future anymore because law is changing. Now there's more and more free legal advice on the internet, a lot of do-it-yourself forums. And lawyers are, it used to be if you got a law degree, you were going to be making at least $100K a year. That's no longer the truth. Law is a hard field to get into, because there's a lot of do-it-yourself ways to get out of legal trouble. Like, however, you're not going to stitch yourself up when there's a bunch of bullets in your chest, which is why getting a medical degree and going into medicine is a pretty safe bet. Like, if you want to be, like, nursing degrees, anything in medicine, I would say is worth getting. Art degrees, anything in art, I would say is not worth getting because, like, for instance, I went to art school. Yeah, I went to art school, and, my degree, I'm teaching all over the world because I have a 4-year degree. But I am not using my degree at all to secure my future as an artist. And considering the amount of debt I got into to get an art degree, yeah, I could have used that money to buy a house. I could have used that money to get a car. I could have used that money to shoot my first independent film. I could have used that money to drop an album. And still, I would have spent less money than I did at university. Well, maybe minus the house. Those might be pretty equivalent. But, like, yeah, so you really got to think about that. Like, you really got to think about the debt and the degree, because all degrees are not created equal. All debts are not created equal. All universities are not created equal. Like, how much are you going to spend on tuition? And then, like, if you are going to go to university, I would say that you should definitely consider studying abroad, because you can get, sometimes you can get, there are universities that are free. Believe it or not, there are free universities in the world, but it requires stepping foot outside of America. So we'll talk about that in another video, studying abroad. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see that. Like and comment in the video if you think you should go to college or not, if it's worth taking on the debt or not. Like, what do you want to major in? Tell me in the comments. But yeah, like, obviously going to university is a personal decision. And it's one that will impact your future for better or worse. There is no guarantee that having a degree is actually going to better your future. For many people, I think getting a degree made their future worse because because we don't live in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s anymore. We live in 2020. So, like, what worked for our parents, the baby boomers or whatever you want to call them, what worked for our parents' generation is not necessarily working for the Zoomers and the Millennials. Like, it's not, what worked for our parents is not working for us. Like, and then, another problem is that people aren't dying, like, people aren't dying. So there's so our parents got these good and impressive jobs with their 4-year degrees, but they're not dead. So, like, there's no wiggle room for us to move into that position. you know, like, and we're getting longer and longer lifespans, which means like people stay in these very good positions longer and longer. And I'm not saying like kill over already, please, but like, you know, that's been one of the things the millennials and the baby boomers have been struggling with, is that the boomers, the baby boomers aren't dead yet, you know, and then the zoomers are going to be like, the baby boomers are still not dead. Like, probably, because like because our life span is going up and up and up and up, and like when we get to the generation of robots, like Metallica, like I don't know, like, I mean, honestly, I think there's going to be more centuries than ever. And yeah, the life expectancy keeps going up and up, which is going to push back retirement. So it's a personal decision. I would say if you get a full ride, absolutely go for any major, anything your heart desires. If you don't have a full ride, I would say go for a practical major, like something in the medical field. And then art majors, I would really think about going for an art degree, because I think there's better things you can try. Like, I think going to acting school is frivolous when you could just go to an audition. That makes more sense to me. Instead of paying an obscene amount of money for acting classes, why don't you just try your stuff out at an audition? So especially when it comes to art schools, I don't really think it's a good use of resources and money. But if it's for something practical, like medical and nursing, yes. Like, so you really need to think about what kind of degree you're getting, and then go from there. But as a general rule, I would say